I suffer from over-obsessing with my goals. I have sacrificed the most valuable things I had for them. My true feelings were misunderstood by me. I was far from feeling complete. At that time, I wanted to reach a strong body, but I didn't know how strong it had to be exactly. I wanted something great and hard to achieve. At that moment, I projected my deepest needs and desires onto the vision of my body. It was as if I had made a heroic, superhuman character in my mind. I was trying hard to make it real, at the cost of my true self. Psychologists call it projection. It means unconsciously attributing our feelings to an external object or person. We do the same with our beliefs or traits. It gave me certainty, goal, and ego satisfaction, but I didn't know that I was projecting my inner needs onto the character. I failed countless times. Nothing was working. I tried different methods and research for a couple of years. I became more insane and started to sacrifice everything that was not aimed at my goal. I still remember as I was moving at the 5 a.m. cold winter night. The cold wind was piercing through my bones. The night was dark. It was my home. The lone moon was my only friend. My voice and mind were my only companions. The trees were standing majestically, suffering the cold winds with me. The ghost in the darkness felt very real at that time. My sight was looking towards the lonely crossroads in the dark forest. It was where I destroyed myself. Then I rebuilt towards something I had envisioned. There was also a night camera. I still wonder what they thought of me. I sacrificed all the pleasure that I felt. I was sitting in the constant cold, sharpening my demonic soul. There was no rage, hate, or anything anymore. The only thing left was my perseverance. I was not looking forward to my goal of huge strength and a perfect body. I only thought about the closest path that I had to walk. All I wanted was to achieve the impossible. I didn't even care if I would die immediately after reaching it. I could only hope to achieve the unattainable. I didn't want to fake it, but I inevitably did. Even if I was giving my all, the dispersed focus made it harder. It led me to feeling cursed and blessed, becoming more authentic but also fake, becoming selfish and having no spiritual experience. As time passed, I achieved my goal of having a strong body. However, I could not reach my original goal. I became content after achieving good results, not impossibility. There was no reason to keep pursuing a wishful projection, but the projection's imbalance made me unwilling to give up. Understanding this, I only saw one way, and it is to take an even more unreachable object of projection. Whoever fights monsters should see to it that in the process he does not become a monster. And if you gaze long enough into an abyss, the abyss will gaze back into you. I not only wanted an impossible body, but also a mind. I wanted transcendence. My mental situation was so bad that I was getting nightmares. But I was not content to give up. I put my life on it. And I took the act of opposition. I found the right path. I will give everything or die. I am better than lowly mortals. Weak insects avoid waves and flow with the current. A brave man does not need much wisdom. There is no regret or pain even if his body crumbles. After a week of extreme work, I became physically unwell, uncertain, but ready to learn. This was the harshness of reality, and also the beauty of fate. In this world, everyone is a main character, but everyone is also a side character. During this time, I got to write a book of mine. It was a book that I had the goal of regaining my certainty in finding the right path. Writing this book helped me to gain a lot of understanding and regain some certainty. It helped me to see my life from another angle. The book itself is very symbolic, thus it enables one to see their own experience in a new light. As Nietzsche said, a strong man digests his experiences well. He digests his doings and wrongdoings just as he digests his meats. This happens even when he has hard beats to swallow. After I shed my projection, I become more self-aware, more adaptable, and question my core beliefs. The lack of knowledge had the same effect as being unconscious. Becoming more aware is a crucial thing to do. It leads us to the question, if projecting our true feelings outside is bad, then how should we align with them? To answer this question, you have to understand one concept. Inside of the man's mind, there is a part of him that is feminine. The same goes for women. They have a masculine part inside of their mind. We can find those images in dreams as well as in myth, religion, art, and literature. Creative geniuses have called their feminine part by many names: muse, guide, or poetic voice. She is the compensation for the risks, struggles, and sacrifices that all ended in disappointment. She is the solace for all the sadness of life. At the same time, she is the greatest illusionist, the seductress. She draws him into life with her, not only its reasonable and useful parts, but also its uncertainty and contradictions. As Carl Jung said, because she is his greatest danger, she demands from a man his greatest, and if he has it in him, she will receive it. We cannot suppress or control our feminine side. It is an inner personality in us. To understand this from my experience, consider a man. He projects his feminine side into his job, which leads becoming obsessed with it, weakened religious life, increased stress. I projected my feminine side on the imagined character and goal. Sometimes we see things the way we want to see them, not how they really are. It is like looking at the moon's reflection in the water and thinking it is the actual moon. We might have our own ideas or wishes about something, and we see those ideas instead of what is really there. But when we realize the truth, it can be disappointing because it's not what we expected. We often mistake our thoughts and desires for reality. This can cause problems when we find the truth. Sometimes people don't want to hear the truth because they don't want their illusions destroyed. In development, the feminine side will possess the man, and the masculine side will possess the woman. Let's review some examples. When people say that a man is possessed by his feminine side, he becomes moody, emotional, and unstable. Irrational behavior replaces masculine qualities such as logic, reason, steadiness, and critical thinking. All too common feminine male is essentially fully possessed by their feminine side. His inner female is fully in charge. It runs the man's personality and ego. Masculine energy makes a man strong, effective, competent, and useful. But it is his inner feminine that inspires his strength, meaning, and value. It is hard for a man to seek these feminine qualities in himself, so he most often sees them in his wife, mother, sister, and daughter. Possessed by the masculine side, a woman loses her natural softness. She becomes obsessed with power. It can manifest as social justice or some other ideology. A woman possessed by the masculine side can be reasoned with. No logic can overcome her position. When possessed by this side, a woman is never satisfied. But repressing the female in males often creates a negative inner femininity in them. This shows up as traits like vanity, moodiness, bitchiness, and sensitivity to hurt feelings. Indeed, a man who has failed to connect with his inner feminine also tends to become emotionally numb. He also tends to take on toxic masculine traits. These include aggression, ruthlessness, coldness, and only rationality. It is what I tried to do. I tried to suppress those qualities in me. I even tried to end them. But the more I tried, the worse my mental health was becoming. I repressed my inner feminine so hard that she had no air left, and this led me to become more delusional, more depressed, and having my death come ahead of time. Women also face repression of their male element. This is due to social, parental, and cultural conditioning. It restrains the male part within them. Take modern society for example. Here we have a culture that ruthlessly imposes toxic masculine ideals. It promotes workaholism. It says productivity, emotional numbness, and ruthlessness are key to success. These external factors can make a woman have a negative inner male. This can show up in her personality as ruthlessness, aggressiveness, and feelingness. But adding positive masculinity to women can make them confident and rational. Young people can bear even the total loss of femininity without injury. The important thing at this stage is for a man to be a man. But it does not mean that you must suppress her now. You still must give your feminine qualities some place left, especially after you have become more masculine. But after middle age, losing feminine traits means less energy, flexibility, and human kindness. The result is early immobility. It includes stereotyping, extreme one-sidedness, and stubbornness. It also includes criticism, or it includes retirement, exhaustion, and messiness. Also, not taking responsibility, childish annoyance, and inclination to alcohol. A collapse of the mindset is no small matter. It always feels like the end of the world, as though everything had fallen back into original chaos. Experiencing it, I felt helpless and disoriented. We could list many cases. In these cases, at the critical moment, a saving thought came. It was a vision, or an inner voice was a tempting pull. It gives life. That was with me, when I got a thought to put my experiences into a book in a symbolic way. It felt as if an inner voice wanted me to find a more balanced way of living, to self-reflect and be more mindful. I always was adaptable. I did not relax about choosing the best way, and if there was a better way, I took it. As Nietzsche said, convictions are more dangerous foes of truth than lies. I am a lover of truth, and only by having this attitude I can be confident in my ability to face anything. By writing, I was getting closer to my soul, towards my inner feminine, towards my true feelings. I realized almost all of my man's value, worth, safety, joy, and happiness come from my inner femininity. It also gives me fulfillment and a sense of belonging. I was arrogant. I thought my strength, things, and power made me happy. But it is not so. Happiness is feminine in a man. I used to resist my true feelings. They are denied parts of my life. They were denied for clear reasons. Consider a successful businessman. He is proud of his intellect and rationality. He strongly identifies his job. He strives for success and recognition in his field. But internally, he suppresses his feelings. He sees them as a weakness and a distraction from his goals. Over time, this suppression of emotions leads to inner conflict and imbalance. He finds himself feeling intense emotions. He struggles to understand them. He struggles to manage them. This is despite his outward appearance of control. It would affect his personal and professional life. To cope with these inner conflicts, he projects his needs onto a specific object or person. He does this unconsciously. It could be a romantic partner or a material possession. He becomes too reliant on his object or person of validation and support. He seeks to fill the void of suppressing emotions. This way, he projects his inner feminine qualities onto an object. These qualities include vulnerability and sensitivity. This leads to a cycle of dependence and frustration. Despite his success, he feels trapped in a pattern of behavior. It stops him from fully embracing his humanity and finding true fulfillment. But the inner world is dark and unnoticed. A man is less able to see his weaknesses when he is related to the persona. The inner feminine remains completely in the dark. When you project feminine qualities onto another goal, you will depend on it more. Similarly, when a man identifies with the persona, he is in effect possessed by the inner female. Identifying with the persona leads to an unconscious identification with the inner feminine. This happens because the ego is not separate from the persona. Anyone who thinks of himself as an outward role will fail to the inner processes. He will deny his role by inner needs or reduce it to absurdity. He can no longer keep to his individual way, and his life runs into one deadlock after another. Also, the inner feminine is always projected onto a real object. He becomes almost totally dependent on this object. Greatness comes from understanding. This means that adding labels blurs the line. It blurs the line between what is real and what is subjective. We need to understand the true nature of things. This means going beyond label and perceptions. This shows the risks of getting too attached to opinion or social roles. This can lead to inner conflict and dependency. If you are overly obsessed and suffer from it, the first thing that you must do is to let the perfection out. Take the imperfect nature of reality. I'm not telling you to be mediocre. On the contrary, you must be extraordinary, but in a balanced way. Become uncertain again. It is a great practice to try different perspectives, and if it has benefits you seek. Zoom out and look at the facts. Look at what forces took hold of you. Do you actually resonate with them, or you just don't want to upset them because you respect them? Do you actually have the freedom to do what you want? And are sacrifices too big? What if you gave the only valuable things you had? Question everything and take only the thing that you resonate with. Find your passion in life and create or create it. Make it your art and let the muse in it. Be adaptive, because even if you think you are the richest person in the world, it might not be so. Even if you are certain that it is the best way, you still must question it. Remember that one must still have chaos in oneself to give birth to a dancing star. You don't have to desperately search for an answer. Give it its time. Personality as the complete realization of our whole being, it is an attainable ideal. But being attainable, it is no argument against the ideal. Ideals are only signposts. never the goal. And the last, find a goal that leads to a more complete and compassionate life. Thank you for watching a while of your life. Hope this video helped you.